And she was in the greatest hiding place in all the world. Yeah! Hey, you! Hey, you laying on the stairs there! I think he's unconscious. Somebody pick him up. Slap some water on his face so he can help us find my sister. Ah! They dragged him all over the place, too. They got up to the bathroom there. They found the person making snow under the bathroom sink. They gave him a wet washcloth so he could clean up down there, you know. A lot of stains and stuff. The boy, he looked behind the shower curtain. Saw someone standing there. Turned on the shower. So that boy, he reached over and grabbed a bath towel. Hey, what are you doing behind the bath towel? Threw it to the kid who was all soft and wet. They didn't find that kid in the hamper. Not yet, anyway. They forgot about him. Because they were thinking about that girl. That big girl with the big hair, the big nose, the big pimple. They wanted to get her. That's her brother. And she was looking for... He wanted to find his sister. Because his sister never won at hide and seek before. And she was in the greatest hiding place. And she was standing in that corner by herself. And she had the greatest smile in the world. She was looking up that little crack in the floorboards in the kitchen, and these little magic speckles of dust kind of sprinkled down to her. And she knew she was gonna win if they could only find that kid in the hamper. She was hiding underneath those boxer shorts, and if you knew their papa, I mean, he had a belly like this, you know. He had a butt bigger than that. And these boxer shorts are like, shoot, man, they were made of bed sheets, you know what I'm saying? He was underneath those things. Yellow bed sheets, you know what I'm saying? Oh, come on! Oh, come on! He had a great hiding place, too, but not as good as that girl. And that girl had a smile, and she was happy, because she was about ready to win. And they were looking for, everywhere they were looking for. They looked up and down, over and around, and they looked at it, third, second, first, but no way were they going to the basement because they knew that was off limits. No one would ever go to the basement because something lived down in the basement, you see, moms and dads, boys and girls. Something walked around in the basement at night, you see. Something, late at night, there were footsteps that shuffled along that cement floor down there. Something would bump into that furnace, that big old fat furnace late at night. Something was down there, and no one dared go down there, except for the girl, for she didn't realize that something lived down there. She didn't know about that, but she was down there, and she had a smile, and all was well. Sorta. You see, while she was standing behind that grandma's fur coat there, smelling the mothballs with the biggest smile on her face, she heard some noises upstairs. And those kids who walked around that third floor finally checked the bathroom again. And the kid who was in the hamper under the boxer shorts, he couldn't wait no longer. He was sitting on the john. He was going to the potty, you know what I'm saying? Found ya! There's no toilet paper up there neither. They left them stranded. And they continued looking for that girl, that 13-year-old girl with the big old hair and the big old nose with that big old white pimple. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. This is the part of the story that I've been waiting to tell you for a long time. For you see that girl, somewhere in that basement, there was that girl. Somewhere in the back of the basement, where the dark got even darker, in that deep, dark, dank corner back there, past that old rotten sump pump that never worked when it was supposed to, past that old fat furnace that made noises when it wasn't supposed to, somewhere past her daddy's workbench, where there was a hammer with a handle sticking over the edge. Somewhere back there, there was a girl who had a smile because she was happy, because finally she heard that other noise upstairs, 2 floors up, the flush of a toilet. And she knew she had won. She was the last one. She with her nails that she was polishing there on her shirt. She with the one with the fingernail and her teeth picking out those tricks. She had won the greatest game in all the world, hide and seek. But you see, moms and dads back there, boys and girls up here. That girl sure had that greatest hiding place. But somewhere in that deep, dark basement, someone else did too. And that someone else was standing right next to her. And that someone was standing in some black boots. And that someone was breathing on the back of her neck. And that big hair was moving because that someone was big, and that someone should not have been down there in the first place, but that someone had the greatest hiding place before she did, and that someone was waiting a long time for her to find it, and that someone was standing right next to her. And those boots moved, and she saw them move, for she felt them nudge against her slippers. And that girl with a smile, because she was happy she won, was not smiling because she was happy anymore. She was smiling because someone had their hairy hands on her mouth, and they were squeezing her face where she could not make a move, and that someone was chuckling in her ear, "Ollie, ollie, oxen free, little girl." And that someone was not a nice person. And that girl wanted to scream. She wanted to scream because someone was upstairs looking for her dear brother, who she hated, but she loved deep down, who was looking for her, who was getting scared, who had 500,000 other kids right behind him looking for her, and he was yelling, "Come on, sis, give up, come on. Come out, wherever you are. The game's over, come on. I figured out how to count to 75. I want to do this again." But that wasn't funny. For you see, everyone, she was in the back of that basement, and she was in deep trouble. That someone dragged her away from that fur cloak and dragged her over that wet box sitting in that green water, over those rusty pipes. Someone had banged that fat furnace as that someone dragged her with that hand still over her mouth, and that smile still on her face, and that someone was walking past that workbench of her daddy, when somewhere in that basement, that girl with the hair, that girl who was crying now, had enough guts and enough wisdom to stick out that hand of hers with the big fingernails, and that someone had dug those hands in some eyeballs. But you know, that only made that person laugh even harder. So that girl had enough guts and enough wisdom to stick out the other hand as she was being dragged past her daddy's workbench with that hammer with the handle sticking over the edge, the one with the claw. And she had enough wisdom to reach up with that other hand and grab hold of that hammer handle. And with the claw part facing down, she reached back and she took the swing of her life. Somewhere upstairs, there was a group of children looking for a girl who was 13 years old. Somewhere upstairs, they heard a scream coming from down in the basement. It was a scream unlike any scream they ever heard. A piece of hair in my mouth. You can't tell stories with hair in your mouth. Suddenly the basement door opened, and there, crawling upstairs, was a girl with big hair, and a big nose, and a big pimple, and not a smile at all, but a lot of tears. And she collapsed in her brother's arms. And that was the end of hide and seek. My name is Matt Hermes. Good night, everyone. You know.
It's my turn. Can I have a turn?
Diane Ladley, ladies and gentlemen. Give her a round of applause. Yeah.